Admiral Kang Tae stood on the bridge of the orbital station, watching the massive view screen with calm eyes. The coffee in his hand had gone cold an hour ago, but he didn't care. His attention was fixed on the 12 alien ships that had appeared near Neptune. They were big, much bigger than anything humans had built. Each one looked like a cathedral, made of dark metal, with strange purple lights glowing along their sides. They had arrived without warning, dropping out of some kind of faster-than-light travel that humanity had never managed to create. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," said Lieutenant Park Jin, his voice tight with tension. The young officer's hands moved across his console, and the main screen switched to show an alien face. The creature was tall and thin, with gray skin and 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern on its elongated head. It wore what looked like military armor, decorated with symbols that meant nothing to the humans watching. "Primitive species of the third planet," the alien said. Its voice was translated by their computer, sounding mechanical and cold. "I am Commander Thexus of the Valorian Empire. Your world has been selected for integration into our glorious civilization. You will provide labor and resources. You have 72 hours to surrender all military forces and prepare for occupation. Resistance will result in the complete destruction of your cities and the enslavement of your survivors." The transmission ended. Silence filled the bridge. Admiral Tae took a sip of his cold coffee and made a face. He set the cup down carefully on the console beside him. "Lieutenant Park, open a channel to that ship." "Channel open, sir." Tae leaned forward slightly, looking directly at the camera that would transmit his face to the alien commander. "No. No." He gestured, and Park cut the transmission. "Sir?" Park looked confused. "That's all? Just no? What else is there to say?" Tae asked. He turned to face his crew. "Get me a secure line to General Yoon at Earth Command. And wake up Dr. Lee on the moon. Tell her it's time to see if her toys work." Down on Earth, in the underground command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Yoon Dae was already moving. She had watched the transmission live. The alien's arrogance reminded her of old history books, of empires that thought they could take whatever they wanted from weaker peoples. "How long do we have?" she asked her staff. "Their ships are moving slowly inward," reported Colonel Han Su, studying the tracking data. "At current speed, they'll reach Uranus orbit in about 16 hours. They're not even trying to be tactical about it. They're just flying straight toward us. They think we're harmless," Yoon said. She allowed herself a thin smile. "Ambassador Choi, I need you to send a message to all Earth governments. Tell them the situation. Tell them we're handling it according to the Mars protocols." Ambassador Choi Hai was already typing. "The governments won't like finding out we've been militarizing space this heavily. They'll like being enslaved even less," Yoon replied. On the moon, Dr. Lee Mi was running final checks on systems she had spent 15 years building. The lunar mass driver array had been disguised as mining equipment for over a decade. Now its true purpose would be revealed. "How many shots do we have?" she asked her assistant, Engineer Nam Young. 48 tungsten rods loaded and ready," Nam reported. "Each one weighs 2 tons. The electromagnetic accelerators will push them to 5% of light speed before release." Lee Mi nodded. She had done the math 1,000 times. At that velocity, each rod would hit with the force of a small nuclear weapon. The aliens' energy shields, if they had them, were designed for the kind of weapons used in space battles across the galaxy. Plasma cannons, laser arrays, missile strikes. They weren't designed for a telephone pole made of tungsten hitting them at 15,000 kilometers per second. "Good," Lee said. "Keep them charged and ready. We fire on Admiral Tae's order." The hours ticked by. The alien ships continued their slow, arrogant approach. On Earth and across human settlements throughout the solar system, people watched the news with fear and anger. Some called for negotiation. Most demanded that the military do something. Admiral Tae spent those hours coordinating with every defense installation in the solar system. Humanity had been preparing for this day since 2087, when they had found the ancient alien probe drifting near Jupiter. That discovery had shattered the comfortable assumption that humans were alone in the universe. In response, every nation on Earth had contributed to a secret project. Build defenses. Build weapons. Make sure that if aliens ever came, humanity would be ready. Now, 200 years of paranoid preparation were about to be tested. Captain Park Jin arrived on the orbital station from his post on Mars. He brought with him data on the fighter wings that Mars had been building in secret. Unmanned drones, thousands of them, controlled by quantum computers that could coordinate their movements perfectly. "They're ready, Admiral," Park reported. "We can launch on your command." "Not yet," Tay said. "Let them get closer. Let them think they've won." Commander Thexus sat in his command chair, watching the primitive planet grow larger on his screens. His officers had analyzed Earth's defensive capabilities. A few orbital stations. Some armed satellites. Nothing that could threaten a Valorian warship. "They haven't responded to our ultimatum," his second-in-command noted. "Of course not," Thexus replied. "They're probably arguing among themselves, trying to decide whether to grovel or make some foolish gesture of defiance. Either way, it doesn't matter. In a day, their strongest cities will be smoking ruins, and they'll beg us to stop." 1. He had conquered 6 primitive worlds in his career. This would be his 7th. The Valorian Empire would reward him well. Perhaps a governorship of this system. The third planet looked beautiful from space, lots of water and green land. A pleasant place to retire. "Sir, we're detecting some unusual energy readings from the planet's moon," an officer reported. "Mining operations, probably," Thexus said dismissively. "These primitives dig up their celestial bodies for resources. Ignore it. Ignore it." The Valorian fleet crossed the orbit of Uranus. On the bridge of his station, Admiral Tay watched the tracking display. The alien ships were exactly where they needed to be. He had spent 32 years in the military. He had studied every battle in human history. And he had learned one crucial lesson. Arrogance kills. "All stations. This is Admiral Kang Tay," he said into the fleet-wide channel. His voice was calm, almost casual. "You know what to do. Show them what happens when you threaten Earth. Execute Mars protocols." Across the solar system, weapons systems that had been hidden for decades came to life. On the moon, Dr. Li Mi pressed the firing button, and the 30-minute war began. The first tungsten rod left the moon at a speed that bent the laws of physics to their limit. It was a simple thing, really. Just a long cylinder of dense metal, accelerated by electromagnetic force. No explosives, no complex technology, just mass and velocity. Commander Thexus had exactly 3 seconds of warning. "Sir, incoming projectile." "Speed is..." The weapons officer stopped, staring at his readings. "That can't be right. The computer says it's moving at 5% light speed." "Check your systems," Thexus ordered. "Nothing moves that fast except..." The rod hit the third Valorian ship from the left. The ship's energy shields flickered on automatically. They were designed to disperse plasma blasts and deflect laser fire. They had protected Valorian vessels for 300 years of warfare across the galaxy. They did absolutely nothing to stop the tungsten rod. The projectile punched through the shields like they weren't there. In the fraction of a second it took to pass through the vessel, the kinetic energy transfer was catastrophic. Metal vaporized. Entire decks exploded outward. The ship's reactor containment failed, and the antimatter fuel did what antimatter does when it touches normal matter. The explosion was bright enough to be seen from Earth without a telescope. "Evasive maneuvers," Thexus screamed. "All ships, scatter. Get the shields to maximum." But the moon wasn't done shooting. Dr. Li Mi watched her screens as the targeting computer tracked each alien ship. The AI calculated trajectories, adjusting for the time it would take each rod to reach its target. The aliens were starting to move now, but they were slow. Their ships were designed for battles where distances were measured in thousands of kilometers, not hundreds of thousands. Fire 2 through 12, she said calmly. 11 more rods launched from the lunar surface. On Mars, Captain Park Jin gave his own order. Launch all fighters. Pattern, Delta 7, from hidden bunkers across the red planet. Fighter drones burst into space. There were 2,000 of them, each one a sleek triangle of metal and weapons. They had no pilots, no life support, no wasted space, just engines, weapons, and quantum computers that let them think and move as one coordinated swarm. They accelerated at speeds that would have killed any human pilot. 15 Gs. 20. 30. The drones didn't care. They had one job: destroy the enemy. Commander Thexus watched his fleet die. The second rod hit his flagship. His shields stopped nothing. The projectile tore through the ship's port side, missing the bridge by 30 meters. Half his engineering crew died instantly. Alarms screamed throughout the vessel. Another rod hit the ship next to his, and it simply came apart, splitting into 3 large pieces that tumbled away into space. Return fire, he ordered desperately. Find their ships and destroy them. Sir, we can't locate their main fleet, his tactical officer reported. We're detecting the launch points, but there are no ships there. Just installations on the planet's moons and surfaces. Thexus felt something cold settle in his stomach. These primitives didn't fight like anyone in the galaxy. They had turned their entire solar system into a weapons platform. The fighter swarm reached the Valorian fleet. Each drone was small, barely 5 meters long. But there were 2,000 of them, and they moved with perfect coordination. They split into groups of 100, each group targeting a different ship. They came from every direction at once. Too many to track, too fast to target. The Valorian point defense systems tried. Laser turrets fired frantically, destroying drones by the dozens. But for every drone that died, 10 more got through. They fired missiles at point-blank range. They raked the hull with magnetic accelerator cannons. They focused on weak points, sensor arrays, weapon ports, engine nacelles. One ship tried to jump to hyperspace and escape. Its jump drive was just spooling up when 3 drones crashed directly into the hyperspace generator. The resulting explosion was spectacular. In the asteroid belt, mining stations revealed their true nature. What had looked like ore processors were actually missile platforms. Hundreds of missiles launched at once, each one carrying an antimatter warhead. They didn't aim for direct hits. They detonated around the Valorian ships, creating spheres of pure annihilation that nothing could survive. 17 minutes into the battle, Commander Thexus had lost 7 ships. The remaining 5 were all damaged, bleeding atmosphere and energy. His crew was dying. His career was over. If he survived this, the Valorian High Command would execute him for incompetence. If he survived, Admiral Tay is hailing us, his communications officer said quietly. Put it on screen, Thexus said. There was no arrogance left in his voice now. The human admiral appeared on the screen. He looked older than Thexus had expected, with gray hair and calm eyes. He was drinking something from a small cup. Commander Thexus, Admiral Tay said. You have 2 options. Option 1. You keep fighting, and in about 10 more minutes, your entire fleet will be debris. Option 2. You surrender immediately, and we'll let you live. You can't expect me to, Thexus began. I don't expect anything, Tay interrupted. I'm offering you a choice. Choose quickly. My people are very eager to finish what you started. Thexus looked around his ruined bridge. Half his officers were dead or wounded. The ship was dying under him. Through the view screen, he could see another of his vessels break apart as more of those impossible kinetic weapons hit it. What are your terms? He asked quietly. Power down all weapons and engines, Tay said. Prepare to receive boarding parties. You and your crews will be held as prisoners until we decide what to do with you. and you will carry a message back to your empire." "What message?" Admiral Tay leaned forward slightly. "Earth is closed. Leave. And never return. If you come back, if you threaten us again, we won't stop at your fleet. We'll come to your homeworld. We'll come to every world you control. And we'll show you what real war looks like." "You're primitives," Thexus said. But there was no conviction in his words. "You don't even have faster-than-light travel." "We didn't need it to beat you," Tay replied. "But thank you for bringing us 12 FTL drives. Our scientists are very excited to take them apart and see how they work." The transmission ended. Commander Thexus looked at his surviving officers. They stared back at him, waiting for orders. He had brought 12 proud warships to conquer a primitive world. Now he had 5 crippled vessels and thousands of dead crew members. "Power down weapons and engines," he said quietly. "Prepare for boarding. The battle is over." 29 minutes and 43 seconds after the first shot was fired, the last Valorian ship went dark. On Earth, people celebrated in the streets. They had been terrified, watching the alien fleet approach. Now they danced and cheered as news spread that the invaders had been defeated. But in the command center, General Yunde wasn't celebrating. She stood looking at the tactical display, watching as human ships moved to secure the captured Valorian vessels. "This is just the beginning," she said to Colonel Hansu. "That commander came from an empire. When they don't hear from him, they'll wonder what happened. They might send more ships." "Let them," Han said. "We'll be ready." "Yes," Yoon agreed. "But we need to be more than ready. We need to understand their technology. We need to know where they came from, and how many of them there are." On the moon, Dr. Li Mi was already working with engineer Nam Young, planning the next generation of weapons. The tungsten rods had worked perfectly, but she had ideas for improvements: faster acceleration, better targeting, maybe even mounting the mass drivers on ships instead of planetary surfaces. Captain Park Jin stood among the wreckage of the battle, watching his drones return to their base on Mars. He had lost 300 drones in the fight, but he had helped destroy an alien invasion fleet. He felt proud and terrified at the same time. Admiral Kang Tae sat alone in his quarters, thinking about what had happened. Humanity had won its first battle against an alien species. They had proven that humans could fight and win. But now the galaxy knew Earth existed, and Tae wondered what would come next. 3 months had passed since the battle. The captured Valorian ships sat in orbit around the moon, surrounded by human research vessels. Every day, scientists crawled through the alien technology, learning its secrets. Engineer Nam Young had already figured out how the faster-than-light drives worked. It would take years to build human versions, but now they knew it was possible. The Valorian prisoners were kept on a space station near Mars. Commander Thexus and his crews were treated well, given food and medical care. But they were not allowed to leave. General Yunde had decided they were too valuable as sources of information about the galaxy beyond Earth. Through careful questioning, humans learned about the Valorian Empire. It controlled 47 star systems. It had conquered dozens of species over the past 1,000 years. It took what it wanted and crushed anyone who resisted. But it wasn't the biggest power in the galaxy. Not even close. There were empires that made the Valorians look like children playing at war. This knowledge terrified some humans and excited others. Earth was no longer alone. But it was also no longer safe. The universe was full of dangers. On a quiet Tuesday morning, everything changed again. Admiral Kang Tae was in his quarters when the alert came. "Sir, we have an unknown vessel entering the solar system. It's badly damaged and moving slowly." Tae was on the bridge in 3 minutes. "Show me." The ship on the screen was nothing like the Valorian vessels. It was smaller, rounder, and covered in scorch marks and holes. Parts of it were barely holding together. It was broadcasting on every frequency it could manage. "Get me a translation of that signal," Tae ordered. It took a few minutes for the computers to analyze the language and create a translation program. When the message finally played, everyone on the bridge fell silent. Please. Anyone who can hear this. We need help. The Valorians are destroying our worlds. We are the Kinara people. We are a peaceful federation. We have 3 colonies and our homeworld. The Valorians came 3 months ago. They were angry about something. They blockaded our planets. They bomb our cities from space. Millions are starving. Millions more are dead. The voice paused, and they could hear crying in the background. We heard stories about a species called humans. We heard you defeated a Valorian fleet. We know it's dangerous to come to you. We know you might refuse to help. But please, we have children dying. We have nowhere else to turn. If anyone can help us, if anyone has the strength to stand against the Valorians, please come to Kinara. Please, help us. We are sending our coordinates, please. The message ended and started to repeat. Tay stood very still, staring at the view screen. The damaged ship had stopped accelerating and was just drifting now. Probably out of fuel. It had come all this way to ask for help. Bring that ship in, he said quietly. Give them fuel and medical attention. And get me Ambassador Choi Hai. We need to talk to Earth's government. Now. The debate that followed shook Earth to its core. In the United Nations Assembly, representatives from every country argued about what to do. Some said Earth should help the Kinara people. Others said it was too dangerous to get involved in galactic politics. What if the Valorians came back with a bigger fleet? What if there were other empires that would see Earth as a threat? We barely survived 1 battle, said the representative from Brazil. We got lucky. The Valorians underestimated us. Next time, they won't make that mistake. So we should let innocent people die? The Korean representative demanded. We should hide while aliens commit genocide? The arguments went on for hours. In the military command center, General Yoon Dae listened to the debates with growing frustration. She understood both sides, but she also understood that the Valorians had attacked the Kinara because of what happened at Earth. In a way, humanity was responsible. Finally, she couldn't take it anymore. She called Ambassador Choi Hai. I need you to make a speech, Yoon said. One that actually means something. Ambassador Choi Hai was a small woman with gray hair and a sharp mind. She had spent 40 years in diplomatic service. She had negotiated peace treaties and trade deals. She had talked down dictators and calmed international incidents. But she had never done anything like this. She stood before the UN Assembly and waited for silence. I've listened to this debate all day, she began. I've heard good arguments on both sides. But I want to ask you all a question. Why did we build all those weapons? Why did we spend 200 years preparing for war? The assembly was quiet. We built them because we were afraid. Choi continued. We found that alien probe. And we realized we might be victims someday. We wanted to be strong enough to protect ourselves. And 3 months ago, we proved we could do that. We crushed an invasion fleet in less than 30 minutes. She paused, looking around the room at the faces of the representatives. But here's my question. What's the point of all that strength if we only use it to hide? We prepared for war, so we wouldn't be victims. Now we have the power to make sure other species aren't victims either. The Kinara people are dying because the Valorians are angry at us. Are we going to let that happen? It's not our responsibility, someone called out. Maybe not. Choi agreed. But it could be our choice. We can choose to help. We can choose to show the galaxy that humanity stands for something, or we can choose to hide and hope the problems go away. But I'll tell you this. If we hide now, we'll hide forever. Every time there's a threat, we'll retreat. Every time someone needs help, we'll look away. Is that the future you want for humanity? The room erupted in arguments again. But Choi wasn't finished. The Valorians believe might makes right, she said loudly, silencing the crowd. They think their strength gives them the right to take whatever they want. If we hide now, We're telling them they're correct. We're saying that power is only for protecting yourself, never for protecting others. I don't believe that. I won't believe that. She sat down. The assembly was quiet for a long moment. Then the representative from Japan stood up. One by one, other representatives stood. Not all of them, but enough. The vote took 2 hours. When it was done, the result was clear. Earth would send a military fleet to Kinara space. General Yoon Dae received the authorization she needed. She immediately called Admiral Tae and Captain Park Jin into a meeting. We're putting together an expeditionary fleet, she told them. Tae, you'll command. Park, you'll lead the fighter wings. I want our best ships and our best people. We're going into unknown space to fight an enemy that now knows what we're capable of. This won't be like last time. What are our objectives? Tae asked. Break the Valorian blockade. Save as many Kinara civilians as possible. And send a message to the Valorian Empire that we meant what we said. Leave peaceful species alone, or deal with us. When do we leave? Park asked. 2 weeks, Yoon said. Engineer Nam is finishing modifications to our ships. She's installed faster-than-light drives based on the Valorian technology. We'll get there much faster than they expect. Tae nodded slowly. We'll need to study the battle plans. Learn everything we can about Valorian tactics from the prisoners. Already being done, Yoon confirmed. We've also been in contact with the Kinara refugees. They have information about the Valorian fleet, strength, and positions. Over the next 2 weeks, Earth prepared for its first interstellar military operation. Volunteers flooded the recruitment centers. Everyone wanted to be part of the fleet that would strike back against the alien empire. Dr. Lee Mi worked day and night improving the weapons systems. The mass drivers on the ships needed to be lighter and more efficient. The targeting computers needed upgrades. Every detail mattered. The day before launch, Admiral Tae addressed his fleet. 8 battle carriers, 15 cruisers, and 30 frigates. Over 50 ships crewed by the best people Earth could provide. We're going to war, he told them over the fleet-wide channel. Not for conquest. Not for revenge. We're going because people are dying, and we have the power to stop it. The Valorians think they can do whatever they want because they're strong. We're going to teach them that there's always someone stronger, and that strength should be used to protect, not to destroy. The fleet departed Earth orbit on a clear morning. As they accelerated toward the edge of the solar system where they would engage their new FTL drives, millions of humans watched from Earth. Inside the flagship Indomitable, Admiral Tae looked at the countdown to FTL jump. They were going to cross light years in weeks instead of centuries. They were going to fight an empire on its own territory. Take us to Kinara, he ordered. The stars stretched and blurred, and Earth's first expeditionary fleet disappeared into hyperspace. The journey through hyperspace was strange and unsettling. The stars outside the viewports looked wrong, stretched into lines of light. Inside the ships, crews felt a constant low vibration that made some people sick. But engineer Nam Young's calculations held. The human fleet crossed distances that would have taken Valorian ships 6 weeks in only 3. When they dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kinara system, Admiral Tae immediately ordered full scans. Report, he said calmly, though his heart was beating fast. Picking up multiple Valorian signatures, reported the sensor officer. 40 ships in total. They're arranged in a blockade formation around the 4th planet. That must be Kinara Prime. Tae studied the tactical display. The Valorian ships were spread out in a spherical pattern around the planet, far enough apart that they could cover all approaches. It was a standard blockade formation, designed to prevent anyone from getting in or out. What about the planet itself? He asked. The officer's face went pale. Sir, I'm detecting massive damage to the surface. Multiple cities are burning. There are impact craters from orbital bombardment. I'm reading very weak power signatures from the surface. Most of their infrastructure appears to be destroyed. Tay felt anger burn in his chest. He pushed it down and focused on the tactical situation. How long until they detect us? Their sensors are less advanced than ours. We have maybe 10 minutes before they know we're here. Then we use those 10 minutes well. Captain Park. Launch your fighters. Tell them to stay hidden behind our ships until I give the word. All vessels, charge weapons, and prepare for combat. And someone get me a communication line to the Valorian fleet commander. The crew moved quickly, carrying out orders with practiced precision. In the launch bays, Captain Park Jin watched as 2,000 fighter drones deployed silently into space. Each one was painted black to reduce visibility. Each one carried enough weapons to destroy a ship 10 times its size. Stay in formation, Park ordered the AI controlling the swarm. Wait for the Admiral's signal. Then go straight for their command ships. Understood. The AI replied, in its flat, emotionless voice. On the flagship, Admiral Tay watched as his fleet moved into battle formation. The battle carriers formed the center, protected by cruisers on all sides. The frigates spread out to create overlapping fields of fire. It was a formation designed for maximum firepower and mutual support. Sir, we're being hailed by the Valorian fleet, the communications officer reported. Put it on screen, Tay said. The alien commander who appeared looked different from Thexus. This one had darker skin and fewer ceremonial markings on its armor. But it had the same arrogant expression. Unknown vessels, you have entered a Valorian military zone. Identify yourselves immediately or be destroyed. I am Admiral Kang Tay, of the Earth Defense Fleet, Tay replied. You are blockading and attacking a peaceful species. We are here to stop you. Power down your weapons and prepare to withdraw from this system. The Valorian commander's 4 eyes widened slightly. Earth? You're the primitives who attacked Commander Thexus? Thexus attacked us, Tay corrected. We simply defended ourselves. Now we're defending the Kinara. You have one chance to leave peacefully. The alien commander made a sound that might have been laughter. Thexus was a fool who underestimated you. We will not make that mistake. You have 8 ships against our 40. Surrender now, or we will add Earth to our list of conquered worlds. You only think we have 8 ships, Tay said quietly. You're wrong about that too. He made a gesture, and the communication cut off. All ships. Tay broadcast to his fleet. The Valorians have refused to withdraw. They have threatened Earth. You know what to do. Execute Battle Plan Delta. Show them fire and steel. The Earth fleet accelerated toward the blockade at maximum speed. On the Valorian command ship, alarms began blaring. Sir, the human vessels are approaching at high speed. They're charging weapons. Only 8 ships, the commander said confidently. All vessels. Target the human battle carriers. Focus fire. We'll destroy them quickly. But the commander had made a fatal mistake. He had counted the large ships and assumed that was the entire fleet. He had not seen the 2,000 fighter drones hiding in their shadow. Now, Park, Admiral Tay ordered. Captain Park Jin released the swarm. The drones burst from behind the human ships like a cloud of angry insects. They split into 20 groups, each targeting 2 Valorian vessels. They moved so fast that the Valorian sensors barely registered them before they were in weapons range. The first group of drones hit a Valorian cruiser from 6 different angles at once. Missiles and magnetic cannon fire tore into the ship's hull. The cruiser's point defense systems fired desperately, destroying dozens of drones. But hundreds more got through. Within 30 seconds, the cruiser was venting atmosphere and spinning out of control. Multiple contacts, thousands of them, the Valorian sensor officer screamed. They're everywhere. The Valorian commander finally understood. These humans didn't fight the way galactic species fought. They didn't send a few big ships to face other big ships. They sent swarms of small, fast, deadly weapons that overwhelmed defenses by sheer numbers. All ships, focus on the fighters. Forget the battle carriers. But it was already too late. While the Valorian ships were panicking about the drone swarm, the Earth battle carriers had moved into position. Their mass drivers charged and locked onto targets. Fire, Admiral Tay said simply. Tungsten rods launched from 8 ships at once. At 5% of light speed, they crossed the distance to the Valorian fleet in seconds. The Valorians had reinforced their shields after learning about this weapon from Thexus's reports. It didn't help. The kinetic energy was simply too much. Shields shattered. Hulls tore open. Ships that had survived 100 battles across the galaxy died in seconds. The Valorian commander tried to order a retreat, but half his fleet was already destroyed or crippled. The human fighters were everywhere, moving with impossible coordination. Every time a Valorian ship tried to target one drone, 5 more attacked from different directions. "Jump to hyperspace," the commander ordered. "All ships, emergency retreat." Some ships managed to activate their faster-than-light drives. They disappeared in flashes of light, fleeing back toward Valorian space. But most weren't that lucky. The Earth cruisers had moved to surround the blockade formation. Their missile frigates created zones of overlapping fire that nothing could survive. Captain Park watched his tactical display as his drones hunted down the fleeing ships. Some Valorians tried to surrender. Others fought to the end. Park felt no joy in the destruction, but he felt no mercy either. These aliens had spent months bombing civilians from orbit. They had murdered millions of innocent Kinara people. "Sir, 2 Valorian ships have successfully jumped to hyperspace," Park reported to Admiral Tay. "The rest are either destroyed or surrendering." "Let those 2 ships go," Tay replied. "I want them to carry a message back to their empire." "What message, sir?" "That we meant every word we said." Below them, on the surface of Kinara Prime, the survivors watched the sky in amazement. For months, they had seen nothing but Valorian ships dropping bombs. Now they saw human ships destroying their tormentors. They saw hope. The battle had lasted exactly 2 hours and 17 minutes. 38 Valorian ships were destroyed or captured. 2 had escaped. Earth had lost 43 fighters and taken minor damage to 2 cruisers. No human lives were lost. Admiral Tay opened a communication channel to the planet's surface. "Kinara people, this is Admiral Kang Tay of Earth. The blockade is broken. We're sending medical ships and supplies. You're safe now." The response came from a damaged communications center on the planet. The voice was weak, but filled with emotion. Tay closed his eyes for a moment. He had been prepared for casualties, for losses. The fact that they had won so decisively felt almost unreal. "Send shuttles to the surface," he ordered. "Medical teams, food, water, everything they need. And prepare our engineers to help rebuild their infrastructure." General Yunde's voice came through on a secure channel from Earth. "Admiral, well done. What's your next move?" "We secure the system and help the Kinara rebuild," Tay replied. "And we send a very clear message to the Valorian Empire." "What message?" Tay looked at the tactical display, at the wreckage of the Valorian fleet floating in space. "That humanity doesn't start fights, but we finish them. And from now on, anyone who threatens peaceful species will answer to us." On one of the captured Valorian ships, the crew was being processed as prisoners. The ship's captain, a veteran of 30 years, sat in a holding cell and tried to understand what had happened. He had fought in dozens of battles. He had conquered primitive worlds and destroyed pirate fleets. He had never seen anything like these humans. They fought with such precision, such overwhelming force. It wasn't just that they won. It was how easily they won. A human guard walked past his cell. The captain called out, "How? How did your species become so powerful?" The guard stopped and looked at him. She was young, maybe 25 in human years. "We've been fighting each other for thousands of years," she said simply. "We got really good at it. Now we're using those skills to protect people instead of kill them. Maybe you should try that sometime." She walked away, leaving the Valorian captain to think about her words. Up on the bridge of the Indomitable, Admiral Tay recorded a message to be sent to Valorian space through one of the ships they had allowed to escape. "To the Valorian Empire," he said, looking directly into the camera. "You came to Earth and threatened us with conquest. We destroyed you. You came to Kanara and murdered civilians. We destroyed you again. This is your final warning. Leave peaceful species alone. Don't attack the defenseless. Don't commit genocide. If you do, we will find out, and we will come for you. Next time, we won't just destroy your fleets. We'll come to your homeworld. We'll show you what it feels like to watch your cities burn from orbit. This is the only warning you'll receive." The message was sent. And across the galaxy, the Valorian High Command received it with fear and anger. They had terrorized species for 1,000 years. Now, for the first time, they were the ones being terrorized. 6 months after the Battle of Kanara, Ambassador Choi Hee stood in a place she never imagined she would see. The Galactic Council Station floated in neutral space between 3 star systems. It was ancient, built by a species that had died out thousands of years ago. Now, it served as a meeting place for peaceful civilizations across this sector of the galaxy. The council chamber was massive, with seats arranged in a circle. Each seat represented a different species. There were the Kinara, of course, grateful and eager to work with humanity. There were the Veylan, insect-like beings who traded information across dozens of systems. There were the Murathi, aquatic creatures who lived in water-filled environment suits, and there were dozens of others, each one different, each one with its own story. And now, there was a seat for Earth. "The human representative may speak," said the council chairman, a elderly Kinara with gray skin and wise eyes. Choi Ye stood. She had prepared for this moment, practiced her speech 100 times. But now that she was here, she spoke from her heart instead. "Thank you for welcoming Earth to this council," she began. "I know our arrival in galactic society was violent. I know some of you are afraid of us. I understand that fear. Humanity has power, and power can be frightening." She paused, looking around the chamber at the assembled aliens. "But I want you to understand what humanity stands for. We don't want to conquer anyone. We don't want to build an empire. For thousands of years, we only knew war between ourselves. We fought over land, over resources, over ideas. Billions of humans died in those wars. We learned very well how to destroy." Several council members shifted uncomfortably, but we also learned something else. Choi continued. "We learned that destruction is easy. Building is hard. Peace is hard. And protecting the innocent is the hardest thing of all. When we discovered we weren't alone in the universe, we had a choice. We could use our skills to become conquerors, like the Valorians, or we could use them to become protectors." "And what happens when you decide someone needs to be protected from us?" asked a Valon council member. "What happens when humanity decides we are a threat?" It was a fair question. Choi had expected it. "Then we hope you will come to this council and present your case," she replied. "We hope you will talk to us before assuming the worst. And if we make a mistake, if we go too far, we hope you will have the courage to tell us. Humanity isn't perfect. We make mistakes, but we try to learn from them." The council chairman nodded slowly. "The Kanara people owe Earth a debt we can never repay. You saved millions of our citizens. You helped rebuild our worlds. You asked for nothing in return." "We asked for one thing," Choi corrected gently. "We asked that you help other species the way we helped you. That you share your knowledge, your resources, your compassion. That's all we want from anyone." The vote to accept Earth as a full council member was unanimous. After the ceremony, Choi spoke privately with several council members. They told her stories about the Valorian Empire, about other species that had been conquered or destroyed. About worlds that lived in fear of the next invasion. Why didn't you fight back? Choi asked a Marathi representative. You have technology. You have ships. We are traders, not warriors. The Marathi replied, through its translator device. We never learned to fight. And the Valorians are so strong. They were strong, Choi said. They're less strong now. Back on Earth, General Yoon Dae was having a similar conversation with her military staff. Commander Thexus, the Valorian officer who had first attacked Earth, had been cooperating with human intelligence. In exchange for better treatment and the possibility of eventual freedom, he was telling them everything about Valorian military capabilities. How many ships does the Valorian Empire have in total? Yoon asked. At last count, approximately 2,000 warships, Thexus replied. Spread across 47 systems. But after your attacks, the High Command has pulled many ships back to defend the core worlds. They're afraid you'll attack Valoria Prime. Will we? Colonel Hansu asked. Not unless they force us to, Yoon said firmly. Our goal isn't conquest, it's deterrence. As long as the Valorians leave peaceful species alone, we have no reason to attack them. They won't forget what you did, Thexus warned. The Empire has existed for 1,000 years. No one has ever humiliated them like this. The High Command is divided. Some want revenge. Others want to negotiate. Some even want to study humanity, to learn your secrets. Let them study, Yoon said. They'll learn that our secret is simple. We don't give up. We don't surrender. And we protect our friends. On Mars, Captain Park Jin was training the next generation of fighter pilots. Even though the drones were controlled by AI, humans still oversaw the operations. And more importantly, humans made the strategic decisions that the AI couldn't. The key to drone warfare is coordination, Park told his students. The AI can handle individual tactics, but you need to see the big picture. You need to predict what the enemy will do and position your forces to counter it. One of the students raised a hand. Sir, do you think we'll fight the Valorians again? Park considered the question carefully. Maybe. Maybe not. But we'll definitely fight someone eventually. The galaxy is a dangerous place. There are species out there that make the Valorians look friendly. Our job is to be ready. At the Lunar Research Facility, Dr. Lee Mi and engineer Nam Young were working on the next breakthrough. They had fully reverse-engineered the Valorian faster-than-light drives and improved them. Human ships could now travel twice as fast as Valorian vessels. What's next? Nam asked, studying a holographic display of a new ship design. We need to think bigger, Lee Mi said. Right now we can defend our solar system and reach nearby systems. But to really protect our friends, to really deter our enemies, we need to project power across longer distances. You're talking about a fleet that can strike anywhere in the sector within days, Nam said. Exactly. And I'm talking about weapons that can crack planets if necessary. Not because we want to use them, but because the threat of them will keep aggressive species from starting wars. Nam looked uncomfortable. That's a lot of destructive power to have. Yes, Lee Mi agreed. That's why we need to be very careful about who controls it, and very clear about when we'll use it. Admiral Kang Tae had been promoted to Supreme Commander of Earth's Expeditionary Forces. He now oversaw all human military operations outside the solar system. It was a huge responsibility, one that sometimes kept him awake at night. He sat in his office on the orbital command station, reviewing reports from across the sector. The Kinara worlds were recovering well. Trade had resumed. Cities were being rebuilt. Children who had known only war were learning to play again. But there were also troubling reports. 3 other species had contacted Earth, asking for help against various threats. Pirates, slavers, a neighboring empire that was making aggressive territorial demands. Tae couldn't help everyone. Earth's fleet was powerful, but not unlimited. He had to choose carefully which situations to intervene in. Admiral, you have a visitor, his aide announced. Ambassador Choi Hai entered the office. She looked tired but satisfied. The council meeting went well? Tay asked. Better than expected, Choi replied. We're officially part of the galactic community now. That comes with responsibilities. And Daskar. Then you. Better than expected. I know. I have 3 requests for military intervention sitting on my desk right now. Choi sat down across from him. Can I see them? Tay handed her the data tablets. She read through each one carefully. The pirate situation we can help with, she said. It's a police action, not a war. Send a few ships to patrol their trade routes. The slavers we need to crush completely. That's non-negotiable. The territorial dispute. She paused. That one is complicated. Both sides have legitimate claims. So we stay out of it? Tay asked. We offer to mediate. Choi suggested. Not every problem requires weapons. Sometimes it just requires someone both sides trust to help them find a compromise. Tay nodded. This was why he valued Choi's input. She understood that military power was only one tool in the toolbox. What about the Valorians? Choi asked. Any word from their high command? They sent an official communication yesterday, Tay said. It's very carefully worded. They acknowledge that the attack on Earth was regrettable. They promise to respect Earth's sovereignty and the sovereignty of our allies. They propose establishing diplomatic relations. That's progress, Choi said. Maybe. Or maybe they're buying time to build up their forces for another attack. Then we stay vigilant. We keep our defenses strong. But we also give them a chance to prove they've learned their lesson. Across the galaxy, on the Valorian homeworld, the High Command was indeed debating their next move. Some admirals wanted revenge. They argued that allowing these upstart humans to humiliate the Empire would make them look weak to other species. But the Supreme Commander, the highest military authority in the Empire, had reviewed the battle recordings from Earth and Kinara. She had watched how easily human forces destroyed Valorian ships. She had seen the devastating power of those kinetic weapons. She had noted the perfect coordination of the human fighter swarms. We cannot defeat them, she told the assembled admirals. Not with our current technology and tactics. They have studied warfare more thoroughly than any species in the galaxy. They have weapons we don't understand. They have strategies we cannot counter. Then what do you suggest? One admiral asked angrily. I suggest we adapt. The Supreme Commander replied. For 1,000 years, we conquered because we were stronger than everyone else. Now we've met someone stronger. We have 2 choices. Keep fighting and be destroyed, or change our ways and survive. Change how? We stop conquering peaceful species. We focus on defending what we have instead of taking more. We study human technology and tactics. And if we're smart, we eventually propose an alliance. Better to have the humans as friends than enemies. The debate continued for hours, but slowly, the Supreme Commander's view prevailed. The Valorian Empire had learned a hard lesson. Power wasn't absolute. There was always someone stronger, and sometimes survival meant knowing when to back down. 1 year after the Battle of Kinara, Admiral Tay stood on the bridge of a new ship. The Peacekeeper was humanity's first purpose-built deep space warship. It was faster than anything in the sector, armed with the latest weapons, and designed for long-range operations far from Earth. All systems ready, Admiral, reported the captain. Take us out, Tay ordered. The Peacekeeper left Earth orbit, leading a small fleet on a patrol route through friendly systems. Their mission was simple. Show the flag, check on allies, and make sure everyone knew that Earth stood ready to defend the peace. As the ship accelerated toward the jump point, Tay thought about how much had changed in such a short time. Earth had gone from isolated and afraid to a major galactic power. Humanity had proven it could fight and win. But more importantly, it had proven it could choose when to fight and when to show mercy. On the view screen, stars stretched into lines as the ship entered hyperspace. Somewhere out there were species that needed help. Somewhere out there were threats that needed to be deterred. And somewhere out there, the future of humanity in the galaxy was being written. Admiral Kang Tae had helped write the first chapters of that story. He had shown the galaxy that humanity would respond to aggression with overwhelming force. But he had also shown that humanity would respond to cries for help with fire and steel, not to destroy, but to protect. The message was clear. Earth was no longer alone. Earth was no longer weak. And Earth would make sure that in this corner of the galaxy, at least, the strong protected the weak, instead of preying on them. It was a new galactic order, and humanity intended to make sure it lasted.